I think it's got worse since we said it got worse the second time, Peter.
I can't hear you up there, buddy. The wind's a little strong.
We spent the last couple of days in the pouring rain under extremely severe conditions.
This is crazy. Yeah, guys.
Yeah!
The Fish in Canada Show, brought to you in part by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Princecraft Boats, dominate the waters. Garmin, join the club. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. And Outdoor Canada, Canada's only national fishing and hunting magazine.
Yes, we're in for some good fishing in Canada.
If we were to take the average angler, one who fishes, let's say, 5 to 10 times a year, and ask them what their preferred fishing weather conditions were, I bet it'd be shorts and t-shirt weather all day. Sunny with a few intermittent clouds, about 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 Celsius, a slight breeze out of the southwest to add just a small ripple on the water, and maybe keep the bugs away. I know that's what I'd prefer. Doesn't even matter what I'm fishing for. Bring on the comfort.
We all know, however, that a perfect world doesn't exist, especially when it comes to fishing. You might have that gorgeous warm July day, but the wind is pounding in so hard that you can't even launch the boat. And if you do get in, boat control is a mess.
I'm going to deploy the drift sock. The wind's just way too strong.
Or that persistent fog bank has been with you all morning long, and you know it's eventually going to lift, but it doesn't even start to fade until 11:30. You've just lost that prime topwater bite.
How about those days that start out so nice? The drive to the lake has you smiling behind the wheel, listening to your favorite fishing tune, sipping a nice cup of Java, and about an hour after you launch the boat, the sky turns black as if someone turned on a switch. I know it's happened to you, and it continually happens to us.
Is it going to rain, boys?
The disadvantage we have, however, is that we need to shoot television footage in order to keep this machine called the Fish in Canada Show going. Which brings me to today's episode, weather conditions. How it affects fishing, how it affects us in the field, and how we combat it in order to make our trips successful.
Our host location for this show is on Ivanhoe Lake near Timmins, Ontario. Steve and I are based out of Red Pine Lodge, a classic Canadian fishing destination. However, Ivanhoe Lake is unique in that it's not your typical Northern Ontario walleye lake. The typical walleye lake I'm referring to in the North Country consists of almost all rock bottom with an endless amount of structure. Lots of deep holes that may or may not be used by walleye, shallow bays that sometimes have cabbage or other types of weeds, and these lakes are usually dotted with an array of islands. Ivanhoe has some weeds, a couple of islands, of course there are bays, and there is some rock structure in various locations. What makes Ivanhoe different is the amount of featureless bottom, mostly consisting of sand. This sand is what intrigued me the most. I've done a limited amount of walleye and pike fishing in sand and had decent success. I've done a lot of smallmouth bass fishing in sand and done very well. Bingo. Sand is a significant player when it comes to the fishing game. Ivanhoe Lake definitely has sand. As I stated earlier on, this day started out quite nice in terms of weather conditions. Steve and I scouted the lake looking for the odd piece of structure, some kind of vegetation, and of course the big vast sand flats and drop-offs throughout the entire lake. By trolling, as well as stopping and dropping with jigs, live bait rigs, and drop shot rigs, we were well on our way to putting a pattern together. Both walleye and pike were in a biting mode, but the upcoming conditions, not good. Let me state right now, I'll bet that I have fished in almost every extreme weather condition out there, or at least I can keep up with the best of those that have. Barring hurricanes, tornadoes, and tsunamis, I've fished in pretty much everything. You got a little water on your lens there? Sometimes it stops the camera coming out, but it doesn't stop me from coming out fishing. But the problem with trips like this one is, we can't shoot video. First, if the wind is rocking, it usually means that waves are pounding. For our camera operators to be able to stand and then shoot steadily in these conditions is all but impossible. Add precipitation. Driving raindrops on a lens, that's just ugly. The plus side to all of this is the fact that even though we can't shoot, we still can learn. And that's what this show is all about.
Well, you know what they say, the two best times to catch fish are when it's raining and when it's not.
Woo. This lake is loaded.
Another shoot that comes to mind relating to bad weather was Buck Lake in 2018, situated in northern Ontario. The weather moved in quick and hit us hard. I can honestly say that Pete and I spent about 70 to 80% of that trip without a cameraman on the boat. That's how bad it was.
I see whitecaps out there, I think.
Yeah, boy, I see them.
Oh my God.
The fishing was absolutely outstanding. We caught a ton of walleye and some nice ones to boot. But unfortunately, we could only show the audience a small portion. Although this is a negative for all parties involved, there was a positive side. What did this dirty, nasty weather teach us as far as the fishing is concerned? We found that during such conditions, pike schooled with pike and walleye schooled with walleye, and more importantly, pretty much segregated themselves from each other,
That's what we're looking for.
yet still remained in the same general area. This theoretically makes sense in walleye behavior, in that they don't want to be around aggressive pike.
Okay, so we're in tighter on that. What we're going to do now is we're going to drift this point again, and we went in tight. We're going to start working, doing different drifts out farther from the point, getting a little deeper. So we know right there, to pike, we do not want to be anywhere near there.
Maybe, just maybe, in these optimum walleye conditions, the walleye become the aggressors and thus push pike away from prime feeding structures. The reason we can say this is that when we pulled away from the school of pike near shore, we came upon a prime-looking offshore hump. And guess what? It was loaded with predating walleye.
Had it
I got her. That's a nice walleye.
right outside on
We
that.
might have something figured
We
out.
might have it.
Gorgeous walleye. Not too huge. I mean, he is an edible, but he's on the big edible side. We're going to get smaller ones than that, so I like keeping them smaller than that. So we'll give this guy the nice release. Thank you, buddy. Woo.
So what's that? That's a finger that's coming off of the actual point, right?
Yeah, it's maybe the point underneath, right? It might
Yeah,
be just the
coming
the
out.
extension. Yeah, and I marked it, so we got a waypoint. on it.
So let's see if we can get right on it, and anchor up or do something right there and fish it for a while.
Lesson learned? In bad weather, if you find a school of pike, look close by for a classic piece of offshore structure. You may find the mother lode of all walleye.
Boy, there's a pile of them out here, eh? My God.
Yeah, it's nice. There's a lot. This lake is loaded. I'd like to break away from walleye for just a minute to bring up another equally important point pertaining to weather conditions and fishing. It was in 2016 on the Ottawa River. I was fishing with John Anderson, one of Canada's premier muskie guides, and again, the weather piled on us. Hard. The cameras were quickly jammed into industrial-sized garbage bags, but Johnny Boy, he knew better. Some of the best muskie action comes in the craziest of weather patterns, is what he says. And he's right. If you look into any hardcore muskie angler's hidden secret fishing diary, you'll see that weather changes or sudden harsh conditions have been a huge contributor to huge fish.
Well, you know what they say, the two best times to catch fish are when it's raining and when it's not.
Whew. Just started to rain. John and I persisted through the weather, stuck to our guns, had the confidence to know that on this particular day, the weather could be a key factor to success, and it paid off rather handsomely. Got her. Here, watch your rod, John. We got her. Here we go. Let's turn this big girl in here. Oh, sorry, buddy. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Yes, guy. Oh.
Nice job, Pete.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
Lesson learned. For muskie, be on the water before, if possible during, and immediately after severe weather patterns move in. There he goes. Okay.
No time to celebrate. back and keep casting. Same as it ever was.
Finally, a bit of a break in the rain. What a disaster this trip has been.
You could say that again.
This is crazy!
Getting back to walleye, in the addition of northern pike, Pete and I had an eye-opening experience a while ago fishing in Alberta. Again, we went out on the water without any camera operators, since you guessed it, it was raining cats and dogs. I'm telling you right now, nobody in their right mind should have been out there. Pete and I, however, well, we toughed it out, and we did find fish. We basically picked the side of the lake where the rain wasn't driving into our faces. From there, we looked at the shoreline, checked the weed growth, and settled on fishing the break into deep water. During the torrential downpour, we proceeded to smack all kinds of walleye and pike. What we learned on this trip was as stacked as that particular drop-off was during the crazy weather pattern, it was totally void of fish when we returned with the cameraman when the clouds parted.
We spent the last couple of days in the pouring rain under extremely severe conditions. We had tackle problems, we had weather problems, we had everything. You name it, we had it. Finally, last night before we went in, we found a couple of spots out here on these long weed points that come out into the basin of the lake. And the fish were literally stacked right on the end. So, but we couldn't shoot because of the blowing winds. So we're hoping this morning under completely different conditions that that'll hold, but so far
It's changed already.
it's changed already.
Of course, we then had to scurry around in panic mode hoping to find fish nearby. Our first change was to move to the edge of the weeds, what's referred to as the weed line.
There's a weed line there.
Oh yeah, there, right on the edge of it.
It was the most logical move, and it worked. Both walleye and pike had moved up the drop-off and hunkered into the weeds.
They've moved way up, huh?
Yeah, have they ever? Look at that guy. These fish just moved. That's all they did was move a little bit.
It was then up to Pete and I to figure out our best way to present baits in this mass vegetation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nice looking fish. Look at those things fight, eh?
Whoa.
Look at those things fight. Nicely done, bud. That is awesome. Look at that right there. That is meat. He has got something in his gut right there, and he's eating more. Woo! Yes, God.
Gandhi.
Woo!
I won't slime you.
Thank you.
Lesson learned? Here today, gone tomorrow. Don't bank on fish always staying in one spot for very long, especially when the weather turns.
Whew, finally, a bit of a break in the rain. What a disaster this trip has been, buddy.
You could say that again.
Sticking with the walleye in bad weather shoots, John Blanchard and I hit Lake Temiskaming in 2018, and as well, we hit some very dirty weather. It's on lakes like Temiskaming that you have to be careful. That beast is over 100 kilometers long, and if a strong wind starts up at the opposite end of where you're fishing, look out. That's exactly what happened to us, and to add insult to our weather-beaten faces, we couldn't find the fish.
This is crazy!
As we stated before, rain and wind doesn't kill the fishing, they kill the shooting. Usually we can put together a pattern, but on this day, we essentially got soaked with a couple of insignificant fish added in. The upside to this crazy venture into the middle of the water was, we knew it was void of active fish. With that in mind and the weather finally passing, we moved in closer to the shoreline and started to work the 10 to 25 foot deep range, trolling small crankbaits. After a major weather pattern like the one we just had, I like to cover lots of water, hence the trolling. And I like to downsize my baits, essentially looking for anything that bites. Trust me, if a big fish is around and hungry, it'll eat a small crankbait. We didn't catch any giants, however, we did save the shoot. Lesson learned? On days after a severe weather pattern, cover lots of water and downsize your baits.
Whoa, nice
fish, buddy.
Pete. Nice. Holy, what a beaut.
Did he ever eat that thing? Holy moly, that was
Look
a
at the color
surprise.
of him too.
I said it wasn't even a fish. Look at that. Wow, nice fish, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a beauty, Pete.
And
Right
you get a
on.
lot of those here, eh?
You do.
Beautiful Temiskaming walleye, bud. Johnny, you are the man again. You put us on the big walleye every time.
Good job,
Look
Pete.
him out, bud. Right on, man.
Got one, Stevie? Yeah. The color of walleye. Come on.
To get to today's fishing adventure on Ivanhoe Lake, we first drove north on Highway 400, continued north on 69, and then headed northwest on Highway 17 at Sudbury. We next turned north on 144 and then west on 101. We lastly turned south on Ivanhoe Lake Road, taking us to Red Pine Lodge. Red Pine is set in a perfect location on the shores of Ivanhoe Lake. Their cottages are excellent for the traveling angler. They offer a housekeeping plan in where you bring in and prepare your own food. We highly recommend, though, saving one of your suppers for walleye with a side order of pike. Finally, getting back to today's extreme weather Ivanhoe Lake shoot, it wasn't a complete bust. During the last hour, the weather finally let up enough for us to pull the camera out of the bag and do what we do best.
Oh, yeah.
Got one, Stevie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go neutral.
Oh, yeah. All
And
right,
I'm gonna
bud.
hit the lock button. We are locked and in neutral.
Yes.
We are locked, brother, for now. I'll reel in.
All right. Yeah, he's still there, whatever he is.
How's she feeling, Steven? Tell me it's a walleye. The color of walleye. Come on.
I think it's the
color.
color.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it
Walleye,
is.
bud.
That's a beautiful
one.
walleye. Yes, sir.
Yeah, guy.
Yeah, baby. Oh,
Get him in here. That's
Yeah.
the net's all spinning and going crazy.
easy. Oh,
Hey, he's out
yeah.
of your crankbait too, isn't he?
Yeah,
Go.
he's out of the
Perfect.
crankbait. That's a beautiful job right there. Nice.
Stevie.
Walleye right there.
Woo.
Yeah, baby. Peter, put her there, bud.
That we gotta give you. I gotta give Stevie a high five. We're both high fiving because that fish was
Yes.
hard to come by.
Oh, isn't it?
But just
Wow. That's your pattern there, Peter.
Yeah,
That's that crankbait pattern.
we've been trying to drift. We've been trying to troll. We're trying to drift this with this conditions like this. We said we got to get out here and troll this water because they're going to be up in the column if we can find some open water fish.
That's
Beauty,
a
put 'em back, buddy.
beautiful fish right there. And down she goes. Yes. Yes.
Again.
On
So
that-
what we did there, just to let you know, folks, it's a brutal day today. This is the best it's been today. There have been white caps out here. It's been great. We went back to the Red Pine just to take a break, get out of the wind. We came back out, and what we're doing now is we're trolling against the wind with the big Merc. It's putting us at about 2.5 miles an hour. Just a nice pull on the crankbait. We're running crankbaits here, and it's just enough to pull on the crankbaits. And a good technique to get in your mind here is if you have a trolling motor with an anchoring feature on it, what we do is as soon as we hit a fish, we put the big motor in neutral, we lock that on so it holds, so at least you can pull the other lines in and you don't roll back over the lines, the boat doesn't drift back towards the fish and all that. You're under control. If it's a real big fish, then we would drift back for Steve's fish. But by using both motors together, it's just a little technique that you can do and it really helps you. So and that's what we did there, and Stevie got the fish in no time.
There it is,
Back
right
and
there.
released.
That man's 20 plus, eh,
Nice,
Peter?
buddy. Nice. 20
Gotta
footer.
get way down for these fish, and that lip on 10-pound test, man, it cuts.
We know this lake has a great walleye population. A return visit in more favorable conditions is a must.
To conclude today's program, I hope we've conveyed the fact that weather plays an extremely important role in fishing. Bad weather does not mean bad fishing. In fact, as you can tell from the segments we pieced together for this show, bad weather can often play a positive role in the day's final fishing results. Do me a favor this season, will you? And keep track of your fishing results during bad weather. You may be pleasantly surprised. Oh, and one more favor. Make smart and safe choices before heading out. No fish is worth the risk. If the weather brings you doubt, stay home.
Today's hotspot is the first area that Steve and I fished on Ivanhoe Lake. The waypoint on your screen will get you there. It's a gorgeous underwater hump or rise, a typical and perfect example of fishing structure. We had just scanned the area with our fish finder screens and were about to run some quick drop passes to really refine it when the weather blew in. This hotspot showed us clearly that the walleye were stacked up on various areas of the hump. By waypointing the larger groups of fish, we felt we could have fished an expanded version of this area for 2 or 3 days. Mother Nature had a different plan for us. This is just one of many great pieces of structure, along with tons of cover that Ivanhoe Lake offers to anglers. For more hotspots like this one, check out fishingcanada.com.
The Fish in Canada Show, brought to you in part by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Princecraft Boats, dominate the waters. Garmin, join the club. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. And Outdoor Canada, Canada's only national fishing and hunting magazine.
Closed captioning for this episode was brought to you by fishingcanada.com, the gateway to your next fishing adventure.